Okay, so first of all, my name is Marg Middleton, and on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Scarborough Community Renewal Organization, I want to welcome you this evening. Our Scarborough is a speaker series that was created by SCRO to enable our community to learn about things happening in Scarborough. So Bob, I was happy when you said you always learn new stuff when you come. We try to find speakers that will be interesting, that you can use the information, and that you can get involved with their information as well. So our first speaker this evening is Dwayne DeRosario. Dwayne is one of the most decorated Canadian athletes of our generation. He's a four-time MLS Cup champion, the 2011 MLS MVP, two-time MLS Cup MVP for 2001 and 2007, and has put together an impressive international career with the Canadian men's national team. But Dero, as he is fondly referred to, his primary objective and arguably his biggest contribution is his commitment to the community through the Dero Foundation. Growing up in Scarborough's metro housing, he had his life transformed through soccer. He feels there's a need in our community for more programs that inspire, mentor, and motivate youth to achieve their full potential. And he's got lots more to tell us. So Dero, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. First, I want to say good evening to everyone that's joining us here on the call this evening. I hope you can hear me clearly. And so, yes, I'm from Scarborough. I grew up in metro housing communities, in fact, in and around all over Scarborough area. And it was really through sport that, as we know, helps to create an avenue and a positive channel for kids like myself growing up in these areas. Obviously, for someone like myself and other kids like me growing up in metro housing communities, we grew up with, lots of trauma, hardworking family, single parents split at a very young age. And when you grow up in these environments, there's obviously a lot of time on your hands as a young child growing up by yourself. I had older brothers, but these communities bring about also various challenges that it was through sports that helped keep most of us grounded and kept us occupied, or just tired us completely right out so that we didn't get too much involved in street trouble or get into getting ourselves in heavy crime. But these things are a reality in our society, and we see it every day when we turn on the news. And I think it's from after school programs really that help save kids like myself and countless others, that we had a safe space to play. So I in turn used that experience to try to help motivate, inspire, and create a safe space for kids similar in these communities that when they go home after school, they don't have a parent to come home to. So what happens is you have a lot of idle time, and as we know, the devil finds time for idle hands, and that couldn't be any truer, especially in these communities. So I partnered with after school program in Malvern area. Our first successful after school program was East Scarborough Storefront, Kingston and Galloway, Orton Park community. And now we're a part of the Malvern Family Resource Center, where we provide after school programs for inner city kids. And again, creating a safe space where kids could utilize sport to help get so much emotions. Like I said, it's a safe space for a lot of kids, and it's a great way for them to interact with many different cultures. As we know, Scarborough is still a melting pot. A lot of immigrants migrate to Scarborough and various areas similar like Scarborough area, and then we venture off and we try to do the best to make something of our lives, which a lot of people have, including myself. And we've used our communities and the platforms provided for us in these communities to help elevate ourselves, elevate our family, and to, like I said, to have a positive impact. And I'm very fortunate to speak on that and be a part of that positive experience that I use sports to help my family, help take care of, my family, help them to get them out of that situation and help to build something more positive for ourselves. And I just felt the need to continue to encourage kids to utilize sports, to believe in themselves, to dig down deep and work hard through the challenges and the obstacles that we face growing up in these communities. And by no means is this easy, especially right now in COVID times where a lot of these facilities have been shut down. There have been a lot of kids that have been pretty much begging for our program because that's the one place where they feel safe. There's a lot of things going on at home that a lot of us aren't aware of, that it's environments like that, keep these kids active and like I said, in a safe environment and allow them to release whatever challenges they are, frustrations that they're going through in a very positive and productive way. And the response from the community has been fantastic. Scarborough has always been a special community to me. It's something that I've always been proud. I've always carried the Scarborough banner everywhere I went. And, it's funny, Scarborough tends to get a pretty negative rap, globally, because a lot of people hear violence. But, I try to share a different narrative of, yes, it is a tough environment, but there's also, great positive things that come out of Scarborough. And we have a lot to be proud of. I don't think, saying that I'm from Scarborough, or that we're from Scarborough is anything to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of and something that we should, as you have done many times with the Scarborough Walk of Fame, is to highlight our success stories and to show that there is positive pathways, that could come out from these environments. And I'm just very honored and proud to be a part of that experience and to be acknowledged as a part of the Scarborough Walk of Fame and these platforms that allow the youth, the future, to see people like myself to say, oh wait, he grew up in that building there, he grew up in that community, really? Get out here. And he did that with his life. I can do it too. And that's the focus of the DeRosario Foundation, is to create a platform where kids have the opportunity to feel wanted, to feel supported, and to use sport as the driving force for them to create something more positive for their life. I think that's pretty much, I hope I covered mostly everything.
We've got a few minutes, Dwayne. I wonder if anybody has any questions. Jillian?
Hi, yes, Dwayne, that
Yes.
was marvelous. I too am a lifelong Scarboroughtite and have always loved living here and love to say to people, that I think it's funny when they think it's a terrible place. It's like, oh man, it is wonderful. So I've done work, I do a lot of work with these Scarborough storefront, and I'm very interested in now how young people can access the program. Like, what have you been able to do? Malvern, I guess now during COVID, and how are young people actually accessing your program?
Well, thank you. That's a fantastic question. And as of right now, actively and physically, we're not there yet. Our program does run after school program. They are still figuring things out in terms of a logistics standpoint. So that's a little bit disappointing. However, we are looking to get back engaged with the East Scarborough storefront, where we started, and we went from there, and we went to Malvern Family Resource Center. And the goal is to be in as much communities as we can as possible, because we definitely see the need for it. Like I said, a lot of first generation Canadians or immigrants that come to Toronto or come to Scarborough, they're coming from a football, as the world calls the sport, football. They're coming from a soccer football background. So a lot of them lean to that sport. And, it breaks so much barriers. We have girls playing, we have boys playing. And we just partnered with the Toronto Zoo. And again, creating an opportunity where, kids could interact with not only sport, but with animals. And we're trying to do our part to break down so many barriers to create as much opportunities for our youth.
Thank you.
Maybe I can do a plug. Dwayne
Sure.
has also written a book, and it's called Dero, and I'm dying to read it. I bought it for my husband. I'm still waiting for him to finish it, but he tells his Scarborough story there.
Yes.
So if you have the
So-
opportunity, pick up Dwayne's book and read it, because it does, from what my husband tells me, Mark, he really plugs Scarborough in here. So thank you
Yes.
for doing that, and I'll do your plug for you.
There you go. Well, thank you very much. So yes, I did recently come out with my autobiography of it's called Dero My Life, and it talks about my journey. Obviously, for me, it was very therapeutic writing that book. I've spoke on stories and experience I've never shared before, but now getting that out in the open and sharing my experience, the positive impact I'm getting from that, from people who are going through very similar experiences is fantastic. So yes, you could definitely get a copy at any major bookstores. It's called Dero My Life, and you get chapters Indigo, or you could go online and get it. And again, if you're someone that's grown up and bred in Scarborough, a lot of those stories you could definitely relate to.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Yes, I do for Dwayne.
Go ahead.
Mike Ellis is my name.
I know you, Mike. Of course I know
That's
you.
right. Dwayne, what other partners do you have with Dero Foundation? What are your funding sources, and has COVID affected the funding that you have available for your program development?
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I'm good.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, so our funding partners right now is well, we had BioSteel as one of our sponsors, but for last year they due to COVID they weren't able to support. So we had our first gala last year, which was for a lot of people was their last event they went to. So in terms of generating revenue for the foundation to grow our initiative, it's been a challenge, to be very honest. It's been a challenge because, as you know, a lot of events that you have to plan in advance, and we just weren't able to execute on any events. However, we have a website where people could go on and support, and so that's been generating some interest financially, but we're really in search for partners who have or share the same ambitions that we do, that want to help our youth through sports. So we're always open for more help.
So I did put your foundation email URL in the chat for anybody who wants to look that up. And it's lovely to have Mike Ellis here representing the Robbie, which is also a wonderful Scarborough institution. Yes. They'll be telling their story in a few months. So
one that I've played in many times. I'm very fortunate to win. Yes. And that's another a great storyline of the Robbie and the impact that's had on a global scale, not only in Canada but on a global scale. It's been around for many years. Since I was a kid growing up, it was one of those tournaments that you always look forward to, because not only did you look forward to playing in these tournaments, but you're able to compete against international teams as well. And the Robbie organization, Mike has done a fantastic job of continuing that legacy and growing its initiatives that I'm very proud to be a part of as well, as ambassador for the Robbie. And again, we're just trying to do our part in multiple facets of the sport to help grow the sport. One that I have to mention, in 2026, the World Cup is coming to Canada, coming to Toronto, which again will create another global opportunity for the world to see how is Canada developing, to showcase our wonderful and beautiful city of Toronto and our beautiful country and our diversity as well.
Excellent. So are there any more questions?
I just wanted to interject for those people who don't see it or not doing gallery view. Dero, you've got a fan in Andrew who has your picture up behind him.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm good. It's an honor to see you again.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. And
Nice.
my father-in-law was a ref at the Robbie when you were playing. So
Really?
yeah. So it's great to see you again. So, and I wore your TFC scarf when you got inducted into the Scarborough Walk of Fame.
Oh, man. I really appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Everybody
pictures.
intertwined in Scarborough. What a wonderful community, right? It's just a fabulous community.
It is, and it's you know, it's uniquely diverse and multicultural, and when I was traveling, it has helped me so much to learn about different cultures and to share those experiences when I would travel. And people would be like, "How you know about this food? How you know about this? How you know about that?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm from Scarborough. I'm from Toronto. You know, we have this. You know, it's unique that in one plaza you can taste all cultures, right, and experience that, and it's beautiful, and it's something that we should definitely be very proud of."
Yes. So Dwayne, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for joining us here and telling your story today. I know people have learned something from you. I encourage them all to go out and get your book. And I think the thing that really inspires me is you have already won all kinds of awards, all kinds of medals. You've got a star on the Walk of Fame. And instead of walking away and enjoying that, you've come back to make a difference. And I just want to applaud you for that and thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words. Trying my best. We still have a lot of work to do, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll help too wherever we can. Okay, with that, I'm going to move on. We have two more speakers here today. And I've put both their bios. They both have such long, wonderful bios. I've put them both in the chat, so if you want to learn a little bit more about them. But I'm going to start by introducing Dr. Craig Stephenson. And Dr. Stephenson is president and CEO of Centennial College and started his role about 7 months before we were really in the throes of COVID. Can you imagine getting a brand new job, not just any job, this huge, big job, and all of a sudden COVID hits and you got to figure out how to work through it. Anyway, I think he's done a great job. When Craig first became president, I'm one of these people. I asked colleagues and friends, business associates, and said, "So I hear there's a new president at Centennial College. What can you tell me about him? What do you think he's like?" And every single one of them came back and said, "Craig will put the students first and foremost about everything." And I think that's a great way in describing you, Craig. And I think you're certainly accomplishing that with the Centennial team. With a PhD in the social history of medicine and a master's in higher education, Craig has 3 decades of post-secondary experience spanning 2 continents, 3 countries, and 7 institutions. With too many honors and awards to mention, unless you go to that chat and get his bio there, he leads Centennial College's vision to transform lives and communities. Beyond Centennial College, Craig continues to lend his expertise and leadership as a member, a chair, and a co-chair of various boards and committees. With Craig's trademark enthusiasm and the support of colleagues and peers, he is committed to extending the scope of the college education, addressing our changing world of work, and tackling the complex issues facing our students and communities. And with Craig tonight is Andrew Petrou. And Andrew's taken down Dero. Andrew is the Director of Strategic Initiatives and External Relations at Centennial College. Andrew is responsible for building relationships with external stakeholders to grow opportunities for collaboration and to enhance the college's services and reputation as a leader in post-secondary education. In his previous role as Executive Director of Downsview Aerospace Innovation and Research, Andrew secured public and private funding for both the DAIR activities and infrastructure, leading to the milestone development of the Bombardier Center for Aerospace and Aviation at Centennial's Downsview campus. I'm so delighted to be introducing Andrew tonight. I had the pleasure of working with Andrew when we were founding president and vice president of the Scarborough Business Association. Andrew, as well as doing his regular job, which is pretty big, Andrew served the organization as vice president and president from 2014 to 2016. His passion for both entrepreneurship and development is evident in both the college framework and the community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stephenson.
Thank you, Marge. Do call me Craig. A warm good evening to everybody. Thank you. And Samir, who's part of our team as well, is going to put on a PowerPoint, if I may, and we're going to start with that. Now, we're going to go through this for about 45 minutes. And if you want to ask questions during, please do, but there will be opportunity at the end to ask questions as well. And we're going to go to that first slide if we can, Samir, because this is a really interesting photograph, and this really sums up. I want to recognise as well, if I may, Governor Kane, Michelle Kane, who is on our board of governors, and Michael Cooksey. I don't know if he's with us now, but was earlier in the meeting, and he's a governor. And thank you for joining us tonight. And Michelle will understand when I say this that Andrew and I are very excited about Centennial, as are these students. Now, this is not a protest. I want to emphasise this. This is actually Centennial students in the 60s thanking the government for opening Centennial College, and they're beaming from ear to ear, very much like Andrew and I tonight, because and I just want to tell you a little bit about my story that might not be in the bio that was shared. I came to Canada in 2008 as an immigrant. I met my wife-to-be, Parna, who's a Persian Canadian, on, would you believe it, the Trans-Siberian Railway journey. And that was in 2006. I found myself coming to Canada in 2008. And I'd worked in universities in the US and in the UK. And I thought, I'll come to the college. It's a similar job. It was being advertised. I got that job. I think, I'll be there for a couple of years, and then I'll go into the university system, which I know best. And I thought that would be my journey, to be quite honest. And then my manager at the time, Jennifer Leith, who was vice president of student services, about 6 months in, said, "Craig, you're going to fall in love with this place." And being British, a bit stiff upper lip, I thought, you don't fall in love with institutions. But I did, and I do. And it's been 13 years, and I absolutely love this place. And why do I love this place? Because it says what it does on the tin. And what does it say on the tin? That we truly transform lives. And that's within our community. And we see it very viscerally. We feel it. And everybody in this space coming from Scarborough should be very, very proud and heartened when I say that when Minister Bill Davis in 1966 announced the need for a network of colleges, it was Scarborough that came and took the torch from Bill Davis straight away and said, we need a college in Scarborough. And it was school board trustee Reg Stackhouse who got a committee together of residents from Scarborough and East York, and they were the first community in Ontario to set up a college. So Centennial is the very first college, and it started at 651 Warden Avenue, and you may recall there was an old radar instrument factory there, and that was Warden Woods, and Andrew actually was a student at the time there. Sorry, Andrew, I'm giving your age away a little bit there, but Andrew was a student there, and he was that was opened in October 17th, 1966. This past Sunday, 55 years ago, this past Sunday. And what was happening then, what Bill Davis wanted, was something that was different to what we had, different to the higher education system at the time, which was about the theoretical, and it was about dialogue in universities and sometimes an end in itself, not necessarily connecting directly to industry. And this is what colleges were about. They were about meeting the emergent new technological needs and the new skill sets that were emerging in the 60s. And Centennial, I'm proud to say, was an absolute trailblazer in this regard. And Centennial was the first college in Ontario, and it established a path, trailblazed a path where 23 other colleges in Ontario followed. So there's a system in Ontario of 24 colleges. And an interesting fact for you, across the nation, 95% of all Canadians live within 50 kilometres of a college, 95%. 86% of Indigenous peoples live within 50 kilometres of a college. What's that tell you? It tells you two things. One, that we're right in the centre of the community. We're serving the communities. And two, it's about access. That, again, is one of the differentiators with the university system. And there you had, back in 1966, on October 17th, Warden Woods, the first campus. Now look at this. Look at this picture of 5 really state-of-the-art campuses, 3 of which are in Scarborough. You know, the Story Arts is in East York, and Downsview is at the Downsview Airfield. And each of these campuses have a very special place in my heart and in the heart of our teams, with a different program emphasis at each of these and a different experience at each of these campuses. So let me take the Story Arts Centre. Again, says all what it does what it says on the tin there. That's about communications, media, art and design. Downsview is the most recent of our campuses. This was opened about 3 years ago, and that is aviation, aerospace. And Ashtonby in Scarborough is the home of the School of Transportation, one of the largest, most successful schools of transportation in the country. Now, there are other programs at Ashtonby. I don't want you to think that it's just all about transportation there, but it is the home of transportation. Morningside, known for engineering and its health programs, such as paramedics, practical nursing, and so on. And Progress is where Governor Kane works, Michelle works, in the School of Hospitality, Tourism and Culinary Arts. And if you haven't been to the local yet, you better get your place booked, because that is an excellent restaurant. And there's a conference centre. So for those who need conference facilities, think about Centennial. And I'm shamelessly plugging it, because I'm not plugging it for Centennial, I'm plugging it for our students, because our students have a hands-on experience there. And this is what it's all about. This is what Bill Davis had in mind, getting students involved in the workplace before they even enter the workplace in their training at the college. And then, so this is what we see at Progress with the School of Hospitality. And we've also got the business school here. Now, not on this picture, but what I wanted to share with you, we've got these 5 main campuses in the GTA, but we also have a learning site in Suzhou, which is about a half a day drive from Shanghai in China. And that is we're the only Canadian institution that has been granted permission to bestow Canadian credentials in China. And I'm including universities in that as well. And so we do diplomas and degrees there. Diplomas there, not degrees at this stage. So this is what I was sharing earlier. It's all about the career success. It's all about connecting the students to the jobs. I was actually presenting at a conference virtually in China, a TVET conference, technical vocational education colleges, focusing on the vocational preparation for various industries. And this is what we do, and that's our mission. But that vision that I told you about and shared with you earlier, that transforming lives through, first with an individual, And like I said, I've heard many stories since I've been at Centennial, where students have said, my experience, my time at Centennial was transformational for me. And that in turn, that transforms families, and in turn, that transforms communities as well. And these are some of the statistics. Now, I don't know if I mentioned, but when we started on October 17th, 1966, there was 514 students that fall. So this time, 55 years ago, there was 514 students. This time now, in 2021, there is over 17,000 students. Pre-COVID, that figure would have been more like 19,350, thereabouts, full-time students. So substantial growth, and where you're seeing that now, you're seeing about 56% of our students are domestic students, those who are in Canada and are largely in the GTA and really specifically in the Eastern GTA in Scarborough. Unlike other institutions I've worked at, the universities, take, for example, the University of Warwick, you drew people from all over the country. When we draw in domestic students, it is from our community. That's where we serve our community. And we talked earlier around the tremendous diversity in Scarborough, and we reflect that both within our domestic student community as well as our international student community as well. 66% of Centennial students were born outside of Canada, and 50% of students already hold a college diploma or university degree, 50%. However, there are a large number of students for whom coming to Centennial is a first-time experience in their family to have a post-secondary education, what we call first generation. And I myself am a first-generation student, the first in my family to go into higher ed post-secondary. And we have a number of programs, the most notable of which is HYPE, Helping Youth Pursue Education. This is a picture of the graduation of HYPE students. And as I said earlier, it's really all about access. And we've got to do everything in our power to ensure that when somebody in our community wants to access post-secondary, we give that opportunity. That opportunity is there. And it's not necessarily, long gone are the days of old where everybody in post-secondary was 18, 19, 20 years old. That's not the experience anymore. People leave high school, they'll go into the workplace, and then they come back. And we've got a lot of students in their 20s and 30s. And in the case of HYPE, it's the age group that we're drawing from it within Scarborough is between 19 and 29. And those who hadn't thought about post-secondary are drawn in, and we offer a 6-week program in the summer, all free, which gives a taste of college programs. And from that, we draw around a third of those students into to pursue a full college program as well. So they go on into Centennial to graduate. Now, on top of behind that student experience are the colleagues, my colleagues. We've Bob's here today. Bob was here today, but yet Bob's still there. Bob Dallas is a faculty member. Michelle Kane is a chair and a governor. And I've got other colleagues on here as well. And together, we've got a staff of around thank you, Bob. Nice to see you. We've got a community of about 2,500 staff. 89% of whom live in the Eastern GTA. And of that 2,500, 54% are faculty. And then you've got about 34% who are support staff, 5% of our full staff contingent, part and full-time as students. And also, you've got about 7% who are administration. That's how it's split. And You know, I was talking to a director today, and this particular director had 3 credentials from Centennial, so had grown up at Centennial as a student, and he's been here with us about 20 years. And he said to me, he said, Craig, you couldn't find a better set of colleagues anywhere than what we have at Centennial. And this is the important piece. It's about our people. That's another reason I talked about transformation. The experience of transforming lives and how important that was, and a core value to me, but also about my colleagues, because we've got tremendous colleagues who are committed and go way beyond to serve our students. And actually, I'm pleased to tell you, and I only made the announcement a couple of days ago, that we've just received an award as being one of the top employers in the GTA. We've not had that award before, and we've just received it. And I'm so pleased, because that was an intentional effort over the last few years, not to get the award, but to really empower our teams. And part of that was listening to their voices as well. Now, as I said, with 54% of our total contingent of employees are within our faculty and within the schools. You saw 5 campuses where you predominantly various schools reside, but you've also, I didn't mention part-time learning, and I didn't mention the School of Advancement. And the School of Advancement is your Gen Ed courses, your Englishes, your global citizenship, Indigenous studies, and foundation programs as well, and access programs. And we have a wide range of part-time programs. And these are evolving all the time. They're changing to meet the changing needs of the economy. And how do we keep relevant? How do we keep ensuring that everything's relevant? Well, we do that through something called PACs, Program Advisory Committees. And we have 1,400 people serving in 119 program advisory committees across the institution, drawn from all the relevant industries to help us make sure that we've got our finger on the industry pulse. We've never lost that vision that Bill Davies had, where we were industry relevant. And that's how we stay industry relevant, through those program advisory committees. And as a result, we've got 400 programs that we offer, including diplomas, graduate certificates, and 4-year honour degree programs. In fact, we have honours degree programs in information technology, science and nursing, and a bachelor in public relations. And as I said, we're constantly bringing out new programs to meet industry needs. So recently, and you'll get this one, cybersecurity, very, very important. So we've got a certificate in cybersecurity. We've got a new a 2- and 3-year diploma in AI, artificial intelligence software engineering technology, and a new 1-year contemporary journalism graduate certificate that focuses on social media, mobile, and emerging technologies that support new forms of delivery from a journalistic perspective. And of course, practical nursing is very important. PSWs as well as our nursing degree with Ryson. And I'm just giving you a number there. We've got a whole slew of other programs as well, which are hands-on and exciting to do. And we're doing a lot of part-time offers. And one of the other areas that we're just getting into, which is really important as well, is because not everybody needs that 1-year certificate or those 2 or 3 years. They also just need short-term courses that allow them just to upskill, reskill, fine-tune their skills. And what we call those micro-credentials, and that's a term you'll hear a lot more about. It's a new emerging market of credential. And, they're it can range between 7-10 week programs, between 80 and 180 hours. And And we've got a micro-credential in culinary, for example, back to basics. We've got a micro-credential in digital retail, another in leadership and inclusion, one in quality control, and another in automation and industry, just to name but 5 of our micro-credentials. And with these micro-credentials, we're really wanting to ensure that we're being industry relevant, as I said before, promoting and shaping for future careers. And here we have just a smattering of some of the stories, the backstories behind our work and behind what students have done once they've left Centennial in terms of activism, in terms of healthcare and publications, and really serving the community. And a number of the faces you see here live in Scarborough. And again, very much embedded in working and serving the community and meeting the needs of the community. And it's interesting, there was an impact study that was completed in 2018 that found that former students of Centennial College are largely employed in the eastern portion of the greater GTA, and they generate, listen to this, 2.3 billion a year in added income to the region. 2.3 billion. That's the equivalent of supporting almost 20,000 jobs. And I'm glad that Dolph has joined us. Dolph has joined us from the zoo. Dolph was on earlier, because we're a foundation institution in Scarborough. We see ourselves as a partner with other institutions as well. Dolph and the zoo being one, another being the Scarborough Health Network, and the fourth being, of course, the University of Toronto, Scarborough. And we're really feeling embedded and part of the whole community. And, you know, I could have shared many, and in fact, Samira pulled a few examples from a recent social media campaign. And I, you know, in the interest of time, I just pulled one example, like I said, of many, of a former student's experience at Centennial. And look at this one. I thought this was very relevant to share tonight, because they're talking about team, you know, learning how to be a team player, the communications online, connecting with people, working on a schedule, all those pieces that go beyond a particular skill set, say, you know, from journalism or nursing or paramedic or culinary. It's all about the soft skills. And you and I know that that's what employers are looking for before as well. And this came through very, very clearly through this story shared by a former student. And then I wanted to talk about the fact that we really, one way that we have sort of gone beyond what Bill Davis envisioned is not just thinking about the practical skill set a student needs in order to operate in a particular industry. So we've gone beyond, say, for example, teaching human resource skills or teaching hospitality management skills, to actually looking at the whole person and knowing that we're nurturing change makers. We're nurturing future leaders who are going to go into industry. They're going to go into public service. They're going to go into the communities as community leaders. And they're going to go to the ballot box as well. So we want to make sure that our students have a holistic experience. And what's been really important to us is that idea of global citizenship. And this was the brainchild, and many of you will know Ann Buller, who was the president from 2004 to 2019. And Ann saw that given the diversity within our domestic student population and the diversity within our international student population, that we had classrooms with tremendous tremendous rich perspectives of all ages, of all backgrounds, of various levels of education. And so that made for something that we needed to tap into and get those perspectives shared that go beyond the technical. And that really is about what the global citizenship is, what change makers are about. We've done work as well around a lot of research. We've got 514 students currently employed in different research initiatives as well, connecting with industry. And of course, Indigenous education is very important to us. And I say, of course, because it's been a journey. When I first came, it wasn't on the agenda, to be quite honest, in 2008, but 2010, 11 is when it started to come into its own. And the way we began that journey was not to just say, right, we're going to go down this journey and we're going to deliver what we think we need to deliver for Indigenous education. No, we actually brought in elders. We actually connected with Indigenous nations and Indigenous communities and formed a group of Indigenous leaders and elders who came and advised us. And in fact, and I've forgotten the year now, but it was around 2015-16, we were the second college since the award was founded nationally to receive a gold award for Indigenous education from CICAN, which is the national body for colleges. And the reason we received that gold award in Indigenous education is because of that relationship building that we did with Indigenous communities, which is very much part of Indigenous culture, and really working in an informed and collaborative and partnered way. And that's where you see that Indigenous strategic framework really coming into its own, from the voices of Indigenous communities, from the voices of Indigenous staff, and also in bringing in all the relevant elements of the Truth and Reconciliation. There's 94 calls to action of TRC, and they're all within that Indigenous strategic framework. And look at this. You haven't seen this yet, but you will. You'll see it very soon, and it's actually being built as we speak. And Andrew and I and Smia thought this would be a great opportunity to showcase this new build, which is on our Progress campus. And you'll see that it really works with the environment around it, and that is because it's based upon Indigenous principles of design and architecture, and connecting with the valley and the river that flows behind this build. And we're working with an Indigenous architect, but we're working with Indigenous community members. And Toronto is the home to the second largest urban population of Indigenous peoples in Canada. And I feel this building will be really important to connect urban Indigenous peoples to education, to their heritage, to their roots, and bring Indigenous community organizations into this building as well, who will be bringing in Indigenous community members who may never have seen themselves in post-secondary. And I want them to be able to get a feel for the place without necessarily having to sign up on the dotted line, because that's not what it's about. It's about the relationship building. And so as we've got new build, we've also got new ideas. And it focuses for me on something called the 3 E's. And there they are: enrollment, employment, and empowerment. And what do I mean by the 3 E's? There's a lot of stuff. Our heads now, you've got information coming left, right, and centre at us, and it's quite complex. But what's it really boiled down to? What's our job here at Centennial? Well, part of it is enrollment, and that's all about the student. It's all about the student experience from the moment they, want to express interest in us to the moment they graduate. We've got to get that experience right. And Marge, I'm really pleased that you focused on the student experience when you talked about me because that's what it's about. That's the center there. But you know, and I know this all about, you know, if you're going to measure me, you've got to measure me on, and you're going to measure Centennial, you've got to measure it on employment, because again, that is true to our roots. And so employment is another way of making sure that we're really focusing on what's most important. So there we have enrollment, about the student experience. There we have employment, about the jobs. And the last one is about empowerment. Now, when people say this, they think it's about empowerment of students. Not in this case. That's important. It is important. But for me, it's the empowerment of my colleagues, of staff, faculty, and managers. I want to make sure that we're hearing everybody's voices. And that's part of the award we received for one of the top employers in the GTA, is because we did a lot of pulse surveys, and that informed what we did. Again, we weren't just providing initiatives, it was based upon that feedback, it was based upon that input. And this is a rather complicated diagram. I don't want you to have to sort of, screw your eyes up to read all this, but basically what this is saying is we're in a state of transformation right now. You know, COVID has been hard on us, it's been hard on everybody, but it's also presented some opportunities. And I want to make sure that when COVID has gone behind us, that Centennial comes out there and it comes out strong, it comes out proud, and we are really ready to be as competitive as any other institution out there. And remember, it's not just colleges and universities, there's that whole digital competitiveness now going on in the world of education. And I want us to be known for 6 areas. So when you come to Centennial, you'll know that you're at Centennial because it'll be a highly student focused, highly student centric. It'll also be agile. No longer do we need to fit into a 9-to-5 mold. No longer do you have to sit in a classroom necessarily. You can have the classroom experience, you can have the online experience, you can have a high flex experience where some students are in the classroom, some students are online. And you can have a hybrid experience where sometimes you're in class and sometimes you're online. And that's the agile. I look at that GTA employer connection as well. I really want to make sure that we're supporting and working closely with small to medium enterprises around research, providing students opportunities and the employers to do internships and co-ops, as well as offer courses and support specifically designed for industry and for company needs. And the environment's really important, and Indigenous education. And of course, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So social justice and social entrepreneurship and innovation, which has been important to us over this past decade, remain important to us. Now, I'm going to shut up there because I've overshot my time by about 4 minutes, and poor Andrew has to now scramble to do his bit. I do apologize, Andrew, but go ahead.
No, thank you, Craig. Thank you for setting this up and reiterating how important it is. We're not an island, and we do look to work with our community partners, including the great work that's going on at SCRO and with Mark in the helm as you know, things are moving at a good clip. So to understand how we prepared ourselves for the kind of the post-COVID pandemic, our president realized, and he's here, Craig, said, we got to be ready. So what are we going to do? And I'm not going to say it, I'll let the video speak for itself. Smith, do you mind teeing up the video?
We're ready to lead globally, philanthropically, academically, and with passion. We heard the call for help and met industry needs, supporting frontline healthcare workers with personal protection equipment, gloves, masks, safety glasses, food security in local neighbourhoods. We contributed to economic recovery and strengthened community resilience. The post-COVID world has nothing on us. We've planned, we've persisted. We're prepared to revitalise our local communities, our province, our nation. And we will do this by fast-tracking manufacturing and meeting regulatory and clinical requirements. We're business connected. We innovate to make learning accessible by empowering our students to stand out as leaders who spread positivity. And we will always, always put the needs of industry, community and students first. We are ready.
So you can see that we definitely were always trying to stay ahead of that wave as COVID hit, and you'll see on many fronts how we approached it. And to strengthen ourselves, we looked at 3 key areas: supporting local business, small business that is, meeting industry needs, and community partnerships, which is critical, and collaborations. So some examples of that are as follows, and you may have interacted with some of them. The first one is the Fine Dining Initiative that was in a partnership with UTSC and the City of Toronto. We realized how badly hit the restaurants are, particularly in Scarborough, being small, medium enterprises or mom and pop shops. And we look to work together to identify them and to actually showcase them and to show their positivity. We pushed our college-wide Shop Local campaign, and we encourage students and staff to shop locally, how important it is to keep those businesses alive through this difficult time, to grow and be there after the pandemic clears. One of the neatest supports that we got in our Center for Expendable Data and Analytics was given funding from the government through our our applied research arm. And what they do is this program is supporting 150 retail sector SMEs in the GTA to develop intelligent systems and data analytics. This will provide 140 students paid applied research positions. We also launched the virtual marketplace. This is quite fascinating because it was in line with the celebration of Black History Month. Centennial launched a Black Business Showcase. The virtual marketplace featured 40 Black-owned businesses promoting the innovation work of Black entrepreneurs in the GTA. The success of this initiative led to the creation of the Centennial's virtual Indigenous Marketplace on a National Indigenous Peoples Day, featuring the work of Indigenous entrepreneurs, artisans from across Canada. And finally, a partnership was created with our cybersecurity industry partner, Exahive, who developed cybersecurity modules that you can take online, and they are free of cost, and you just have to go to our website to get them. We realized how cybersecurity had to increase substantially during COVID times. We had a service that we launched over 4 years ago. Some of the founding folks are here on this call. I'd like to give a big support to Carolyn Ritchie, who's here, and Manji Kang, who works hard, and the rest of the team. And this was an identified need that we realized that industry and community needs to be able to interface with the college with an easy concierge service. And we launched the Solve partnership in your success. And we have seen it grow, and it continues to grow because we triage the need and the support for whatever our partners are looking for. I know we have quite a few areas to touch base on. The next slide goes over some of those key areas. I'll just point out a few. Obviously, access to student talent. We always get those calls. Hi, I'm looking to hire a student. Well, is it a co-op? Is it a placement? Is it part-time? What do you need? And we need to identify that to break it down. Obviously, our research world is growing. Networking opportunities. I love what Craig mentioned, PACs, program advisory committees. Always looking for fresh talent in our program advisory committees from industry and community partners to help guide and facilitate that new programming and growth. International partnerships, we have seen, for example, when Amazon came to Scarborough, they connected us through Solve. They came to Solve and looked to work with us to help build out their labor force. So there's, and it goes on and on for the opportunities that we see at Solve. So next slide. So as Craig mentioned, we did create something called DARE, the Downey Aerospace Innovation and Research Consortium, with U of T, Ryerson, Bombardier, Safran. Aerospace is the second biggest market in all of for Canada and Ontario, particularly concentrated in the GTA. Obviously, Pearson is only a stone's throw from this location. And I'm excited to say that a lot of my work is from this project. This project was dear to me only because it reminded me of Scarborough. There was a lot of communities that needed that support. And we realized, as great as this is for this province, the city, this nation, it's great for the community. And we're seeing that growth. Well, as a proud Scarborough boy, and I did have my Scarborough flag on before until I saw DeRosario, so I won't bring up the Scarborough flag just yet. There's a project that you guys will get a sneak peek. I won't give you too much, so please keep it a little bit confidential at this time, but it'll be more public next week. And next slide, please. Thanks, man. Oh. Oh, here we go. We are announcing the Environmental and Related Technologies Hub District, the Earth District. The Earth District is a combination of 5 academic institutions founded by Centennial and U of T Scarborough to also involve Durham College, Ontario Tech, and Trent University. We want to formalize the importance of climate change and work together to build things like this image that you see here is a vertical indoor vertical farming facility that will be net zero. It will look to build on what technologies and knowledge we have and work together in unison, not just with academics, but our community partners, and in particular, hand in hand with our Indigenous family across all the, we're calling it the kind of the corridor going from here towards Ottawa. And it's not going to be exclusive, it'll be inclusive. And yes, Scarborough is where it's going to start. And we're pretty excited about that. It'll allow us to again, build technologies that are needed, train and scale up the workforce of the future, because we know that there is an urgent crisis on our hands and we need to address that. And also, why don't we build it here at home and feed our local people from domestic products? So this is what we're really excited about, and be very proud that, yeah, Scarborough. So we're pretty excited about that. Community collaboration and partnerships. We didn't stop. And I got to say, as much as I'm a Scarborough diehard and an engine, I couldn't keep up with Craig. He was nonstop and saying, what more can we do? I'm like, Craig, it's midnight. Can we go to bed? Just kidding. So we would open our doors. Craig was whatever anybody needs, whether it's our facility or we need to get out there, let's do it. And so sure enough, on the left, our facilities were used for folks to get together, to package food, to distribute. That's our School of Culinary Arts. Our board member, Michelle Kane, is a big part of that world and can tell you a lot more of all the activities that happen in that facility. But also on the right is a local SME, small medium enterprise. You might know them as Redwood, I believe it is, fabrics and clothing. And that is Craig in the back with a mask on, one of many SMEs that we went around to support. And that Bolt the Colt guy, man, he was nonstop too. Next slide, yeah. Again, I want to read to you what these were here. I have it, sorry, I jumped across. Here are some more key examples. And again, he's a humble guy, but you can see Craig doesn't only talk the talk, he walks the walk, and he rolls up those sleeves and he's in there. And you don't notice him because he's ducking on the right-hand side there with his mask. But House of Neighbors, we help support and package food for them. Indigenous Culinary and Associate Nations, we supported that group. St. Stephen's Church Food Bank, and our very own CCSAI, or Centennial College Student Association Food Bank Curbside Pickup, to help our poor students, that the ones that couldn't have enough food, we were supporting them as well. We pushed ourselves to the limit. This is a story that you obviously know of, our vaccination clinic. I'll give you the background of that. I received a phone call on Saturday. I called Craig within minutes of the request from the Scarborough Health Network, and all he said was, make it happen. And bang, we had this thing, and I give a lot of the people at the college credit for putting this together. Our facilities teams worked hard to set this up, and it was one of, I'll give full credit. I use it too. I think many of us did. And if we click to the next slide, over 1,400 people a day, we were giving over 500,000 doses of the clinic, and we received the recognition of the Toronto Star as the most effective vaccination clinic in all of Toronto for delivering the highest number of doses per day on average. And that was here in Scarborough. All right, team. Since we're talking Scarborough and I can't keep up, this one is an incredible story. Again, a few folks that were a part of it. Obviously, the Anchor Institute, Centennial, UT Scarborough. Big shout out to Dolph and the zoo. Dolph, as much as you may not know, he is not born in Scarborough, but his heart is in Scarborough. So I got to stress that. And then we also had UTSC. This project, again, was the genesis and brainchild of our president. He turned to me and said, we got to do something for Scarborough. I want to recognize people in Scarborough. This is in the heart of the pandemic. He goes, get back to me later, but just make it happen. And the team came together and it just took off. And it was an incredible genesis. And we thank the idea that was seated in his head that doesn't stop. And here we are with the picture of the mayor. Obviously, we had Liz Bullard and Craig. Adolph is in that picture. I got to find them. Adolph, where are you, man? Well, he didn't make it. Adolph's in the other pictures. And these are our recipients and our winners. And what blew my mind, because we just assumed, and I got to give Samia big credit, she's here today. She worked so hard to help collaborate with everyone to make this happen, that people were like, so we got one for next year, right? And I went, okay, wow. We thought it would be a one-time, but maybe this is something that we will continue for Scarborough, and it garnered much interest. And what as much as Centennial is a beautiful venue, I give the zoo credit. They also, again, another beautiful venue that we can use, and we're very proud. And the mayor gave awards and everyone else. So I'll pass it over to finish off. Back to Craig.
Thank you, Andrew. We've gone over time, so I'm just going to say once again, Marge, I really appreciated calling me earlier in the year and saying do come and share your story with us, and I'm really grateful that we had that opportunity. And please don't see this as the end. Don't see us as just suddenly coming on screen and then going away. You know who we are now. You've seen me, you've seen Andrew. We've got a number of colleagues on this screen. Reach out to us and let's have those conversations. And Marge made a really interesting point right at the beginning when she said, we've got some speakers. We really want you to see, how it's relevant to you, how it's relevant to the community, not just in terms of information, but maybe in terms of connections down the road. So I hope we've planted seeds for you today that we may see grow over the next few months and years. So once again, on behalf of Andrew, myself, and all my colleagues here from Centennial, a huge thank you.
Oh, Craig, Andrew, I could just listen to you all night. I really could. I'm so excited. It doesn't take much. I get excited when we talk about making things happen. I too know Michelle and Bob and all you guys. I know a lot of people. I've been on a pack with Centennial College for over 10 years. So I'm happy to be there, to learn, to see what you're doing with the students there. I have to tell you, Craig, we have, for the Walk of Fame, we have 10 Centennial College student volunteers that are working with us. One of them is on the call today. She's what we call our volunteer coordinator. Her name is Chanel. She's got her picture. She's hiding behind a picture. I cannot tell you, maybe I should have Chanel tell us, how excited they are, how wonderful they are to work with. You give them a task, you give them a deadline, they go back, they bring it. I just can't. I said when I took over the Walk of Fame, it was a lot of work. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. And they put the smile back on my face. They really put the smile back on my face. So congratulations. We had over 60 people volunteer and we only chose 10. But I just can't say enough about the students at Centennial College. I can't say enough about your presentation, but maybe somebody else wants to ask a question. Are there any other questions?
I can start, Marg, if that's okay. First of all, Craig, Andrew, thank you. Those of us, there are many of us who are invested in all things Scarborough, and we're so honored to be able to showcase Centennial College as one of the great features about what makes Scarborough such a great place to live, work, and play. And thank you for explaining all the ways in which Centennial does that so well. I do have sort of a technical question, if I can. I was taking a look at your website during your talk, and I'd be curious to know a little bit more about your fast track programs, which I gather are focused on the needs of internationally trained individuals. We know there are so many newcomers who arrive here, whose credentials, whose overseas credentials are not recognized here and who are therefore significantly underemployed. There are many of them here in Scarborough.
Yeah.
And it looks as if that program seeks to overcome those limitations. And maybe you can tell us just a little bit about it.
Yeah, no, Larry, thank you so much. And I'm going to ask my colleagues around the room, and I know, Bob, Michelle, you're here to listen, but if you want to come in to this one, and Andrew, have you, do you want to respond to this as well?
Well, I mean, I think the majority are in CTAS, School of Engineering,
Yeah.
Applied Sciences. And what they did was they realized people want to move through programs faster than just the standard semester kind of template of programs. So there's some that will push it to taking an extra course at night, weekends, and we have a limit, but we execute an accelerated method to get them through the program faster and be able to be more productive to get to that work term. The other piece that we do have, and the government has funded us as well, is, and we do have spaces of fully paid programming that industry will hire, particularly in certain micro-credentials. So if we do see, if you do know of others that are looking for programs that they can take on a quicker note to get them something that is certified, that is funded and paid for, happy to field those opportunities to you as well. I know Carolyn's on the call. She knows a few more of those micro-credentials. I'm putting her on the spot. She may be putting her baby down, so I don't know.
I'm here. Sorry, thank you. I did have to step out for bedtime, but I came back just to catch the end. I saw the beginning of Craig and the end of Angie, so I think I caught the most there. But yeah, with the fast track programs, and obviously Michelle will be an expert in programming as well and what's happening at the college, and Bob, of course. But it also to recognize those who have been internationally trained to start in maybe like year 2 or year 3 of a 4-year program, so that it's almost recognizing the foundational skills they have, but getting that Canadian experience in our education system and getting up to the standards that we have, or ensuring that they're meeting those standards prior to graduation. So that's kind of accelerating that training path. But Andrew's right, that our engineering school has, I think, the majority of those programs, but we're seeing a lot more launching of micro-credentials to get that kind of quick training that's required to get those essential skills out into the workforce to meet industry's needs faster.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Other questions?
I just want to throw out a quick observation of actually, and then we'll move over to Gillian, that I came to Scarborough in actually Gerard and I were talking about it because I came back in the early 80s. I think it was 82. My father taught at Seneca College, and I said I needed to hire some students, or I need to hire individuals as servers because I was a very young catering and event manager. And he said, go to my father worked for a company called Aikenheads. I don't know if anybody know. I know some people may know who that was, but I grew up in that sort of environment. And I worked for a company called Holiday Inn. So long and the short of it is I went to Centennial College, became a guest speaker in a classroom because someone said, you know what, you got the gift of the gab and you can tell the story, and that's what students like. So then I started to hire students. And then a faculty member, Doug Rapley, who was the chair of the program, Andrew will remember that, said, why don't you teach a course? And I said, like, teach? And I taught one course, got involved in PAC, and then, and I've owned a business in Scarborough, and I've been here in my entire life. I want to resonate from the bottom of my heart, and as a Scarburian, and love Scarborough. I've known Marg for years. I've known so many people in Betty Carr, so many different people. Centennial, and I'm not just saying this because Craig's on the line, Centennial is an unbelievable place to work, period. And the culture, the diversity, what I have learned, some of the things that I would never, ever even be able to express as, say, just you kind of go where I'm going with this. You can do it at Centennial. Get involved in a PAC, a program advisory committee. No matter how young or how old you are, do it. Come in and talk to the students and tell a story. Everyone has a biography. The local, excellent. the CCSAI, the best sandwiches, in my opinion, you can get. This is a place not just to educate, but to explore and to love. And I do have a great boss too that's on here, but I'm not just saying that. But I do. Like,
you do indeed, Bob. Yeah.
it's like a love affair.
Yeah.
I love it. Andrew knows me as a faculty member, right? So you do, Andrew. I know that you've moved, and no, I'm very passionate about Scarborough, obviously, but I do love Centennial. So Craig, that was an absolutely fantastic participation. And if anybody wants to take a post-grad event management program, one course or all 13 courses, we've got it for you.
Well done, Bob. Thank you.
And it's been recorded too.
Okay, we're almost 8 o'clock. Jillian, did you have a quick question?
I'll just make an observation because I don't think we really have time to get into the answers. First of all, thank you so much, Craig, Andrew. This was just tremendous. Yet another gem in our midst. I love when we get this kind of profile and enthusiasm about something that is glorious about Scarborough, a part of our great city that's certainly been undersold, as it were, but we who live here know. But I do an awful lot of work trying to break down barriers between folk in marginalized populations and our great institutions. And there are two things that under other circumstances, if we had more time, I would explore. So maybe I'll pick up the phone. But one of them is your 6-week summertime for free, come and get acquainted with the college. Because I think that, as we all know, that is massive for people for whom school was never their thing, but they figured out they got to get some kind of education. So I'd love to learn more about that. So that's one thing I'd love to pursue in maybe another setting. And the other is, amongst all the anchor institutions and yourselves with this Indigenous build, is working very hard with the trades and with other organizations to prepare people so that they can actually be hired by the subcontractors, hired by the general contractors to do work in construction, but also some of the professional, administrative, and technical jobs associated with the expansions that yourselves and UTSB and SHN and ASU are working on. So those are just two strains that I would love to follow up with you at some point. But this has been terrific. Thank you very, very much. So glad you had this opportunity tonight to listen to you.
So I'm gonna before we close, I'm just gonna ask one quick question, Craig or Andrew, whoever wants to do it. What can we do as community residents to help Centennial College? What are those things? Is it sitting on a PAC? Is it your scholarship program? Where could we fit in to help Centennial College?
I'll start that if I may, and then I'm going to bring Andrew in. Now you already had a jolly good sense of what the college is about. We see you as ambassadors in part. So it's about getting those messages out, because it's still that there's still out there, colleges are there just for a certain education. It's not like a university. There's misunderstandings about what colleges are. Like I said earlier, 50% of our students have a degree, a diploma. We have got an incredibly diverse body of students. So you cannot pigeonhole us. And so, I want you to sort of fight the good fight around that when people talk about colleges. That's important, being a voice for us. And I love the idea as well, Marge, with thinking about our students with the scholarship programs. It'd be remiss of me if I didn't promote those opportunities to support our students. We've got Giving Tuesday coming up in November after the Friday of the shop. I've forgotten the day. Black Friday. So the Giving Tuesday after Black Friday. So, there's opportunities there and throughout the year, really, and seeing the students receive those scholarships. And we do pre-COVID, we did a lovely awards event for that. Really incredibly grateful and real opportunities to support our students into and through their education. Andrew, did you want to add to that?
I echo your comments. I mean, it's like that messaging, being ambassadors, whether you're going to a local company and purchase something and they're looking for help, to say, do you know that Centennial College is up the street? That we're a big impact. We're as a fabric of the community. We're not an island. We're here to work with those communities and understand that we're here, and to make them aware that Centennial College is strong and has deep roots in Scarborough and beyond globally as well. And we'd love to strengthen our network in those communities. And you can see the diversity happening within Scarborough community organizations to help break those barriers down and work together. And it's through collaboration that we can make that happen.
Well, I think Andrew knows, I'll speak for Centennial anytime. I'm a great connector and I love to connect people. I can't thank you enough. I think this is the first time we've ever gone overtime, but your presentation was so dynamic. And like I said, I could have stayed all night and listened to it. So I thank you so much for coming. We'll have you back in the new year. Maybe there'll be more stories to tell. Want to hear more about the Earth building and the Indigenous building. Those are two separate things, right? They're two different, right? I thought so. There's just so much going on that maybe there's an opportunity to come back and tell a different kind of a story about what's changed at Centennial. So we'll invite you back in the new year. And with that, I'll say goodnight and remind you that on the 21st of November, our speaker that night will be Anthony Gebrahimwoot, and he's a photographer, entrepreneur, and community enthusiast. Very, very different presentation tonight. He'll be bringing the work that he's done in Scarborough and sharing it with us and what he's doing. And then we also have CWSS coming in, and they're a community organization connecting women with Scarborough services. And we'll find out what they do. And with that, I'll thank you all for coming and look forward to seeing you again. Can't thank you enough for being here. Good night, all.
Thank you.
Oh, Andrew, great flag.
Yes, great backdrop, Andrew.
Thank you.